Hello, kids, and welcome to Kids Story Time. Our story for today follows on what happens from our last story. If you recall from our last story, that was about how the Lord gave Moses the Ten Commandments. And this story is about the golden calf. It's basically a story that happens while Moses is up there on Mount Sinai as the Lord gives him the Ten Commandments. This is something that happens down below with the rest of the children of Israel. You can read this story in Exodus chapter 32. So, as usual, we'll be watching a short video and then go into a few questions.
As Moses came down the mountain, he heard festivities and soon saw the golden calf statue. There the Israelites were, dancing and shouting before this false god. It was an atrocious sight to behold. God's own people, whom he so powerfully rescued only 2 months ago, turned their hearts from him and were worshiping a false idol. Moses was so angry that he threw the 2 stone tablets to the ground, smashing them to smithereens. How could these people be so ungrateful? How could they so quickly forget how God delivered them from the hands of the Egyptians? Moses went and stood between the people and shouted, "Whoever is on the side of the Lord, come stand with me." All the sons of Levi came and stood by Moses. Then Moses gave them instructions to take their swords and kill the rest of the people. Their horrific idol worship had brought a terrible sin upon the people. That day, 3,000 Israelites died because of their wicked hearts and dreadful sin. And soon God sent a terrible plague upon those that remained. Though God had to punish their disobedience, he still led them on the path to the promised land. His forgiveness and mercy still upheld the remaining Israelites.
Right. My first question is, how long was Moses gone from the Israelites? We know that the Lord called Moses to come to the top of Mount Sinai, and he was gone for a while. How long was he gone? And this is a number which you will kind of find pretty much across the Bible. It's the same number of days that it rained for in Noah's time. That number is something that you will keep finding it repeating over in the Bible. So think about how many days was Moses gone from the Israelites. Go ahead, pause the video, and then you can come back and join us again. Right, so if you said 40 days, then yep, you got the right answer. Moses was on Mount Sinai for 40 days. And it's the same number with Noah and the ark. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. And you'll see this number come pretty much across in a lot of different stories in the Bible. Right, let's go to the next question. So like we probably know, while Moses was up there on Mount Sinai, the Israelites, they probably waited for some time, and then they decided to ask Aaron to build them an idol. So why did they do that? Think about what the answer could be, and then you can pause the video and then come back again. Right. So I'm pretty sure the Israelites waited for a few days. Maybe they were excited. They waited for about a day, a week, maybe 2 weeks. But then when they didn't see Moses return back, and when they kind of couldn't know what was happening up on the mountain there, they maybe assumed that Moses was dead. They probably thought the Lord took him, or maybe he died, whatever. They didn't know, they couldn't see, they couldn't perceive with their senses or physical senses as to what was happening. So we see they all go to Aaron. Aaron was like the second in command who was helping Moses lead the children of Israel. And Aaron was down with them in the camp. So they go to Aaron and they ask him, build us an idol. They ask him literally to make them an idol that they can bow down and worship to. And the follow-on question is, what does Aaron do? It's quite obvious. You can think about what he does. Pause the video and then join us again with the answer. Right. So what Aaron does is he gets all these Israelites to collect gold. He gets them to give their gold, whether it's jewelry, earrings, chains, necklaces, whatever gold ornaments they had. He collected all of that, melted it, and made it into the image of a calf. And he goes on to say, here's the idol, here's the God that you wanted. This is the calf that delivered you from Egypt. And it's something which is so sad, when it's something that the Israelites are doing. These are the people whom the Lord, with his mighty power and mighty display of power, led them out of Egypt, through all the plagues in Egypt, led them out to the Red Sea, split open the Red Sea, got them to cross across the Red Sea, and did miracles that he had done for no one else before. These are the people who had witnessed such miracles, and now they get to a point where they're able to tell Aaron, just make us an idol. And Aaron obliges and builds them this golden calf and tells them, here's the God that delivers you from, or that delivered you from the land of Egypt. And we can all think how hard-hearted the Israelites were. We can all easily point our fingers to the Israelites and say, they were a bad bunch of people. But the truth is, every one of us can probably be worse than that. The Lord might have done so many good things to us in our lives. He's delivered us from sin, delivered us from the penalty of sin. Every one of us, the best of us, would actually deserve hell. And yet, He's made a provision for us to enter into His kingdom, to be saved from sin. He's helped us in our school, in our work, in every aspect of our lives. He's preserved our lives. And despite all of that, the lesson that I often am reminded of is the human heart is it's something that can become very hard-hearted. That's what we see with the Israelites. And while it's easy to point a finger at them and tell them or think that they were not good, I think it's equally important to remember that the same could happen to us if we do not walk with the Lord. If we do not have a walk where we long to hear from God and where we long to live for Him, we too can easily be hard-hearted like these Israelites. And we can kind of see this pretty much all around us. We have so many people who worship, created beings, like people who run after money, people who run after wealth, possessions, honor. Those are all forms of idols that people think are the most important things in their lives. For some, it could be even their health. Being so fit and being so strong is so important to them that nothing else matters to them. And that can become an idol. Our professions could become an idol. Wanting to get a certain grade, or wanting to get a certain job, or wanting to get a certain level of income, that could be an idol. And it's something that we can keep in mind, that the human heart is something that can easily become hard. And the only way that we can avoid that danger is by walking with the Lord, is by walking in obedience to His word. And that's something that we learn, in terms of what happens here. Right. So all of this is happening. Aaron builds the calf and the golden calf, and the people are worshiping and dancing and reveling in whatever celebrations they had. And as Moses is coming down, he kind of finds out. He finds out what's going on. So the question is, what did he do when he found out all this rebellion that was happening? What did he do? Yeah, go ahead, pause the video and think about your answers, and you can join us again. Right. So, as Moses was at the top of the mountain, I think God told him, this is what the children of Israel are doing. And Moses comes down and finds out what's happening, and he is furious. He is so angry at the Israelites. And in fact, what he does is he breaks these tablets of stone that God had given him God had written with his hands on these tablets of stone, the 10 Commandments. And Moses is so upset at these Israelites and throws and breaks these, stone tablets. And there's something we can learn here. We can learn about the difference in how Aaron and how Moses were as leaders. Aaron, in the previous question, we saw how he was able to be convinced by the Israelites and how he gave in to building an idol for them. And here we see Moses, on the other hand, being probably the one guy who is against all of this and standing out and standing against the majority. And that's something that we can remember, in the world we live in. The voice of the majority is not always the voice where the Lord may want us to stand with. And to be able to say, Lord, I want to maybe be against the whole world if you are with me. If you want me to do something and the whole world is against it, I will still want to do what you want me to do, Lord. And that's something that I'm reminded of in Moses' life. He was so zealous to do what God wanted him to do. And when he saw corruption like this, he didn't think about, there were too many people. They were waiting for me for a long time and, it's okay. He didn't compromise in his, ideals for the Lord and in his passion for the Lord. He stood firm. And that's something that we can aspire to be. We want to grow up to be young people, men and women for the Lord, who are so zealous for him and who are on fire for the Lord that nothing can stop us or hinder us or quench this flame that we have for the Lord. Here's another very important question. So when all of this happens, God is also upset at the Israelites. He's so upset and tells Moses, I'm going to wipe them away. I want you children to read Exodus chapter 32. You'll be able to see a lot more of the details there. And God is so upset and he wants to destroy and wipe away the Israelites. And we see that Moses intercedes. And how did Moses intercede? That's a question I want to bring out, because this is something that stands as a precursor, as a example or a forerunning toward the life of Jesus, as you'll probably find out. So how did Moses intercede? Think about what you would think is the answer, and then you can join back to the video again. Right. What Moses does is he pleads to the Lord to show mercy. He says, Lord, if you destroy all these people, if you destroy your children, think about what the enemies would say. Think about what the Egyptians would say. They would say, you led them all out into the desert or into the wilderness only to have them killed. And there's one point where he says, Lord, if you want, blot out my name. Take away my name and I'll take up that punishment instead of the Israelites. And that's something that we want to remember here. This is the very same thing that Jesus did. When Jesus came to live as a human being here on earth, and then when he took the penalty for our sins, it was not his sins that he paid the price for. It was our sins that he paid the price for. He said, Lord, I'm willing to endure this break in fellowship between you and me, so that these children of yours would be saved. That's what Jesus did, in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he cried out to the Lord, Lord, can this cup be taken away from me? Can I escape from this breaking of fellowship between you and I? And like we've heard from Brother Zach, this would have been that conversation. The Father would have told him, yes, you can come up straight away. There's no need for you to take up the cross and break fellowship with me. But these little children of mine here on earth, they will go to hell. You can put your names in there. And that's when Jesus says, all right, Father, I will do it for them, for these little children. And again, put your names there. For this person or for that person, I will take up the cross. And that's what Jesus did. He took the punishment of sin, of my sin, of your sin, of all our sin upon himself. And that's something that we see here. Moses saying, Lord, let me take the punishment. If you want to destroy them, blot out my name, but leave them instead. And that's something that, we want to remember. We want to remember how Moses, he was firm and strict and severe in how he dealt with sin. But we see the heart, all of that came from a heart of love, from a heart of burden for the children that, for the Israelites that he was leading. Right, our final question. Who stood with Moses when he called for those on the Lord's side? Now, after all of this happens, we see that the Lord wanted to destroy those who had built the idols and those who were dancing around and worshiping quite intensely. And Moses says, who is on the Lord's side? And we see a bunch of people. We see a particular tribe that comes out and says, we're on your side. We're on the Lord's side. So who's that tribe that stands out for the Lord here? Again, pause the video and you can come back and join again. Right, so this is the tribe of Levi. We know that the Israelites had 12 tribes, and one of them was the tribe of Levi. And this is the tribe that said, Moses, we stand behind you. We will do whatever you want us to do. And Moses actually goes on to get them to punish those who, worshipped intensely and built the idols and did all those, blasphemous things in the eyes of the Lord. Moses instructed these Levites to go and kill, those who worship the idol. And the Levites did not say, oh, but Moses, these are our relatives. These are our distant relatives, our uncles and aunts and cousins. And, these are people who are technically our families. No, that's not what they said. They were faithful to do whatever the Lord wanted them to do. And they did exactly that. They obeyed Moses and punished whoever had to be punished. And we see that this is the defining moment where the tribe of Levi is actually chosen by the Lord to have the privilege of building the tabernacle. Later on in the subsequent stories, we'll see how the Lord would ask or lead Moses to build a tabernacle. And the only people who are allowed to go in and do the things that the Lord wanted to be done in the tabernacle were the Levites, technically the priests. And this definition or this act of their faithfulness to the Lord was that defining moment for them, where the Lord would decide to choose them to be those who would enter in and offer the sacrifices and worship Him in the temple. And to us, that's a picture. When we stand for the Lord against the powers of the world, against the flow of the world, against the norm and the system and everything around us in this world, when we stand for the Lord, no matter what inconvenience it may be or what hardship it may endure, when we stand for the Lord to say, Lord, I'm for you. I'm for you. This life you've given me is for you. This body that you've given me is for you. Everything that you have given me, I want to use it for you. And when we stand with the Lord like that, that's when the Lord is able to use us, be it to build His church somewhere or be it to be a part of His church and bless one another and bring forth, the life and the love of Christ in that church. That's when He's able to use us to actually truly become part of His church. And that's something we can remember as to how the tribe of Levi ended up being the tribe that would serve the Lord continually in the tabernacle. Yeah, I'll close with the usual credits. All the images we saw today are from freebibleimages.org. The story video that we saw was from Share Faith Kids. And a lot of the truths I've learned from the story are from teachings and messages of Brother Zach, and you'll find a lot of those teachings and a lot of those truths in one of his books called Through the Bible. I would very much encourage you children to get a copy of that and go through that as the Lord leads you. Thank you, and God bless you.